Hey all, welcome back to another episode of Harrison Talks Pod, episode 66. Every NBA fan wants one of two things. Either your team is competing for a title or it's building towards one. And the worst place is to be somewhere in between. So today we are talking about the 2026-27 NBA Purgatory. Teams that aren't bad enough to fully rebuild, or teams that don't have a clear direction towards that NBA title. And the NBA is super competitive, so we have quite a few teams to talk about today. Hope you guys are doing well. Like, subscribe, do all the YouTube things. Check out my links and all side panel links down in the description, and let's get into it. Okay, let's start with a lightning round. I love lightning rounds. And we're going to start with 8 teams that didn't quite make Purgatory this season, which is a good thing if you are a fan of them, perhaps. Perhaps. I think so. I try to be a positive guy with the NBA. All right, so we'll go through them a little bit quicker than the actual Purgatory teams. I don't have any graphics or anything for them. And we'll talk about why they're not in Purgatory this season and what's keeping them out, whether it's positive or negative. First one is the Utah Jazz. So Utah Jazz traded Walker Kessler to the Lakers for 2 unprotected first round picks and 2 pick swaps. I think that is very positive. It's interesting with the Lakers. There's been so many talks last few seasons, maybe with Walker Kessler, but also with Lauri Markkanen, who is still with the Utah Jazz, and he's been with the Utah Jazz through a lot of good and bad, in my opinion. They drafted Darren Peterson, number 2 overall. It was a very exciting, very memorable summer league. I wish I could have watched more live action of this year. And is just slowly, not even quietly, just building one of the best young rosters that could compete for a play-in this upcoming season. I don't know. But I'm leaving them off Purgatory for now. They're kind of, I would say they're kind of borderline, but if anything, they're making improvements, and they're not trying the same thing over and over again. Between Ace Bailey, Darren Peterson, some of this young core with Lauri Markkanen, it's exciting. It's exciting to think about. Next one, kind of along the same idea, are the Dallas Mavericks. They hired Masai Ujiri, and they got rid of Jason Kidd. So that kind of Luka Doncic era is completely gone. We can kind of start fresh, even though it's the same ownership group. All right, whatever. They hired Dusty May from Michigan as their head coach, and no coincidence there. They drafted Morez Johnson Jr. in the first round, and then got Sergio Delaria in the first round from the Knicks. Right? I always say that because I don't put it in my notes sometimes. But anyways, they got Zachary Risache. They also added Santi Aldama, Marcus Sasser, building around Cooper Flag. Both of their first round picks had some bright moments in the summer league. I think even Sergio had like a game or two where he had double-digit assists. Of course, there's bias from him being a European player, but just very positive overall. Cooper Flag certainly needs point guards around him, so it's exciting. For that, we're leaving them off Purgatory for now. I think they're going to improve. We'll see what they do with Kyrie Irving. But give or take, I mean, I expect him to be healthy. And if he's there, if he's not there, there's an asset that's going to be there if he's not. Warriors might be the most borderline one. And we know what happened with LeBron James. There was a lot of positive with Yaxel Lindenberg. Sorry, I'm still in the off season. Making a lot of apologies today. And I am happy. I talked the last 2 weeks about LeBron James. I'm happy he didn't go to the Warriors. And um, the on paper, of course, Warriors are still getting older. They're still expensive. Even with Draymond's deal, they're difficult to find out how to improve. And they've even come out their front office and said that they're going to start planning for the future. So we'll see what happens. I think there's going to be a lot of talk surrounding Steph Curry this season, at least in comparison to someone who hasn't had as many talks about what the future destination could be. But that's what I expect. Ugh. I don't like it. I just don't know how they do improve. And for that, I mean, they're honorable mention because it's still Steph Curry, but they're just right there. They're right there. But let's see what Yaxel does at number 11, and let's see what they do with Steph Curry, what they plan around him. I just with Jimmy Butler, I just don't know. Just don't know. Speaking of not knowing, Trailblazers. We gonna have a whole episode on them soon, maybe next week, because I'm just dying to talk about this team all of a sudden. Acquiring John Morant, I guess, is the biggest news as far as their offseason goes. They're getting Damian Lillard back. They're going to have Damian Lillard, John Morant, Scooter Henderson, who I've talked recently about. I really want to see him develop. I really do. There were some bright parts in the postseason at the end of last season, and I'm worried that just with everything going on with this team and the construction of it, you got to focus on Lillard. You got John Morant now. What do you do with him? Shaden Sharp's developing. You got Drew Holiday still there, right? Oh my God. Robert Williams III. They added players like Micah Potter and Brandon Carlson. Again, they are borderline purgatory. They are honorable mention for this reason. I'm gonna hold out because what I kind of expect is, of course, Damian Lillard's not going anywhere, and he's going to be the focal point. Perhaps they can win more games. I didn't even mention Denny Avdia. And then from there, you see what happens. I mean, Denny Avdia, I guess, doesn't need to be on that team, but maybe he does play alongside, or maybe they staggered the minutes enough with Damian Lillard where it makes sense. And John Morant, same thing. Well, even less so, because I think they got him at enough of a discount where if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out, right? So yeah, expect a whole like 30 minutes from me about that team later. Wizards. Let's go quicker now. Wizards. Jeffrey AJ DeBonsa. Added Trey Young. Still have Anthony Davis. Gonna extend him. Hopefully he's healthy. Have veterans like Chris Middleton. Yeah, have young players like Alex Sarr. Exciting. Exciting young core, which will hopefully be healthy. And I'll just leave it there. I don't know. I forget where I've seen them ranked overall, but they could be a play-in team this year. And I hope they are. But I could say the same thing about every team, though. So, Brooklyn Nets, honorable mention. Maybe the least exciting team for me. If the season started today, Julius Randle. Hope he does well. Actually, didn't hate him for his role on Minnesota, but I knew that Minnesota had to move on, of course. Michael Porter Jr., Mikael Brown, Ken Ellis. Mo Wagner is interesting. So I wouldn't say it's all bad. I would say that their offseason was actually pretty positive, I would say. I think a lot of like local or like Brooklyn media that I listened to getting ready for it agrees with that. So I think this is more evaluation year for Brooklyn because I just don't know if they actually do improve, considering that the East is going to be very good this year. As they were better than I expected last year, I expect them to be underwhelming, and I just don't know if they actually improve it all or they evaluate and figure out how to rebuild. So for that, honorable mention. Actually, that kind of sounds like purgatory, though. So I don't know. We're moving on. We're moving on. Uh, Pacers signed Kelly Oubre. They have Larry Nance. Of course, Tyrese Halliburton's coming back from injury, and that's the part where I'm keeping them off purgatory because they were in the finals, lost their biggest player. Then they had a bad season last year. They don't have like uh, other players from that era, from that culture, like Miles Turner. And they're moving on from other players like Cam Jones and Micah Potter, who we mentioned, while they are keeping players like Kobe Brown. So I don't think they're going to. I don't know if they're going to be in the top four of the East, but I do expect them to compete. So for that, honorable mention. Charlotte Hornets, honorable mention, because I think they're going to be more in the rebuild. Of course, they moved on from LaMelo Ball. They had a number 14 pick, Hans Steinbach. Sorry about that. I'm still, again, in the offseason. Still, Kobe White, Concanipple. Uh, Hopefully going to be a rebuilding, very young team. There's enough questions there. I don't think they're a team that's like we have to compete now or we have to like be like somewhere in the middle or in the play-in. We don't have to also bottom out for like a big draft this year either, which I think is a good reason to do this sort of purgatory list for this upcoming year. It's a lot different the way I see it than what we just experienced, which was pretty crazy. So that was my 8 honorable mention teams as quickly as I can. And let's then move into the 7 teams that I am putting into purgatory for this year. And you can disagree with me. It's just my list. First one are the Chicago Bulls. I'm pretty excited about this one. Nick Claxton. We should talk about this more. Just getting Nick Claxton just like that. Way to go, Bulls. And there was a huge focus, of course, around number 4 pick, Caleb Wilson, in the Summer League. And I don't have much of an opinion on the comparison just yet on the Bonsa, who played limited in Summer League, Darren Peterson, who was exciting, Caleb Wilson, who was very exciting in Summer League. And if I'm a Bulls fan, I'm just looking forward to whatever happens this season. But I gotta put them in purgatory because the East is getting better. They're going to be looking quite different, I think. And are they going to focus on Caleb Wilson maybe being the new focal point, maybe the new future star of this team? Something that the Bulls have needed for a while. They have new GM. They hired Taco Splitter, which I'm very happy about because I wish he was still with the Trailblazers, or maybe not. You know, ask ask him what he feels. Of course, they are still building around players like Josh Giddey, Matas Buzelis, and with the addition of Caleb Wilson, it's interesting. Perhaps they do make improvements this season, but when looking around the East, I'm just not too sure. Because Purgatory, I see it as like when you're in that 11, 12, maybe even if you're in the play in, because we will talk about that. Maybe even if you're in like the bottom of the play in, but you know you can't make it out of the first round, even if you win 2 games in the play in, then I would consider that to be the same. So, my hopes are this is a real year one rebuild for the Bulls, and I hope that they focus on their young core and not too much on what other pieces need to be there around that young core. If that makes sense. I didn't do too much deep dives on their cap space, like like if they would move on from other players. But they did already get rid of like veterans like Colin Sexton, of course, Anthony Simons. Um, they are letting them walk. They are keeping players like Zach Collins. So I guess I'd like to end the Bulls by just saying, yeah, 31 games, won last year, negative 5.3 net rating. They improved defensively from the year before. And I think there's going to be a lot of room for improvement this upcoming season. So my hope would be that they are um, more exciting to watch. I'm looking forward to watching Caleb Wilson, so that should be enough for me. But I hope that they are just more competitive this season. They could win more in 31 games, but even if they won 39, 40 games, I still think they're in this purgatory range. Again, you can let me know if I'm wrong. Let's do a team that is often in purgatory in the West, and that is the Sacramento Kings. Of course, we know that last season was different with the upcoming draft and how many teams were trying to get to the bottom part, which the Kings were in. They were 22 and 60 last season. They were ranked 28th in points scored, 111 points per game, 27th in points allowed, 121 with a negative 9.7 net rating. Just bottoms in both offense and defense last season. They drafted Darius Acuff, Alex Caravan, Emmanuel Sharp, while bringing back Precious Achua. And of course, Zach LaVine exercised his player option because why would you not for $49 million? And Sabonis, not sure just yet. So the Kings seem patient, and the West is getting better. I think it's always just kind of, even if slowly, just always getting better. And the Kings at this point are projected to have more than 200 million in payroll, and 139 million will be committed to LaVine, Sabonis, DeAndre Hunter, Keegan Murray, and Malik Monk. So what, like 70% of your payroll to 5 players? Which I'm sure it's worse on other teams, but for a team that won 22 games last season, they'd have to win a lot more for them to be not in purgatory. But hey, okay, they got Darius Acuff Jr. I like Precious Achua. Um, that's about it. I mean, I like players like Keegan Murray and Malik Monk, but yeah, having Levine on this contract is tough. It's very tough. So beyond that, not really too sure what they do with this rebuild. And I guess I always default to thinking I hope they just focus on the young players then. But they're in a tough spot. I don't know what types of trades they could do, which is maybe why it feels like or it seems like they're being more patient than they should at a time where I think the West is getting better, but there is still opportunity to improve as well. Let's move on. Now let's talk about not the most confusing, but it's got to be one of the most confusing teams heading into next season. And that is the Pelicans. They were confusing last season as well because I have to remind myself this. Zion Williamson, 62 games last season. Not, not great, but not horrible, right? Trey Murphy, 66 games. Jeremiah Fears, all 82. Derek Queen, 81. Sadiq Bey, 72 games. Relatively healthy season for this team. There was other injuries as well. But that's just a little bit of context, right? Bottom 10 in offense last season, 113.3. Bottom 10 in defense at 117.6 allowed. Minus 4.4 net rating. Bottom 24th in assists per game, allowing 120 points. Their rating was 117.6, but almost same, right? And one of the worst shooting teams, shooting just over 47% from the field and just right at 35% from three. So, I think confusing team, but a good candidate for Purgatory because I think it's clear what they could do. I think they have made some improvements in the offseason, and you got a lot of young players that you could build around. And the Zion Williamson question comes up, of course. And you never know. Kind of like you never really know going into his season. But he often seems motivated, and we'll see what his health is like. And I think he made a lot of positives last season. It's just often covered up by the career he's had and the amount of games he's missed the last few seasons combined. But I hope they make decisions, and with decisions does come that purgatory stage of like it seems like you're committed to Zion Williamson. I mean, he's still there, so it seems like you are committed to him. And you got exciting players like Derek Queen, very exciting rookie year, just had a lot of other rookies that kind of outshined and might have played in bigger games also in the rookie seasons as well. So there's going to be speculation surrounding this team, whether it's Zion Williamson, Trey Murphy, or Herb Jones. I mean, there's plenty of assets that I'm sure teams reach out and inquire about. And they have Jamal Mosley as their new head coach, which, again, I'm not surprised that he retained a head coaching job in the NBA after last season. And we'll see what the defense looks like with him as the head coach there. I think that is all very positive. The makeup, the rotations of this team, not so excited about, whether it's, how you make rotations surrounding DeJounte Murray and Jordan Poole. But overall, they do have a very nice core of like a young top 7, 8, 9 players. But they are spending a lot though. Almost 200 million for next season, and 150 million of that is committed to Zion Williamson, Jordan Poole, DeJounte Murray, and Trey Murphy. Just those 4 players alone. So there's not a whole lot of room. So expect a lot of news, speculation surrounding this Purgatory team this season. Don't expect them in the playoffs. They could be in the play-in. But other than that, let's move ahead. Okay, let's bring some positivity for this one. Talked about Ja Morant with honorable mentions with the Trailblazers. I'm hoping, I'm just hoping that this is not the end with anyone. But I don't know what's going to happen this season. I'm happy the Grizzlies moved on. And that's not to say anything negative about Ja Morant, even though I could. I hope that it's a fresh start for everyone. I wish it wasn't a fresh start in Portland with all the other things going on right now. But they're moving on. They got Cam Boozer, Zach Edey, who only played 11 or 12 games. 11 games last season. And we'll see what they do with that. But they have to try building a core around Cam Boozer. Or he has to at least be a part of that young core. Last season, they were 25, 57, 13th in the West. Just very rough season for them, and also that unique draft year for them. 20th in points per game at 114.7, 26th in points allowed at 120.7, and their net rating was -6. They got the number 3 pick where they selected Cam Boozer. They also added Kareem Lopez and Richie Saunders, signed Ty Jerome, acquired Isaiah Stewart, Quinton Post. That's awesome. And added Jeremy Grant. So added a veteran player. And man, we'll talk later about the uniqueness of trading Ja Morant and Jeremy Grant and where both of those players are at this point and where they were, a few seasons ago. That's all. But I like Jeremy Grant. I hope he actually plays good minutes on a team that is clearly going to be trying to rebuild. And with all the other players that I just mentioned, I like Ty Jerome. I love Isaiah Stewart. Quinton Post played quality minutes. They also have players that I really like. Cedric Coward, Jalen Wells, Gigi Jackson hopefully plays more. Along with the rookies, I think they have a solid young core. I just don't expect them to win, especially in this Western Conference. And they shouldn't. Let them be in purgatory. Let them. Don't push this team too much. Cam Boozer is still only going to be a rookie, and it's going to be exciting, because I think this rookie class is going to be very focused on the competition of the rookie class. So that will be really cool to see. But beyond that, I hope any of these teams, whether it's Washington, Utah, Chicago, Memphis, I hope that they all have the same focus on we have to focus on the long term and let the rookies be rookies, even though that there's a lot of hype around them. And with that, I have a lot more reasons to watch this team this upcoming season. So I hope this purgatory part brings some positives as well. So speaking of moving on, of course, we have to put the Milwaukee Bucks in this category. Last season, they were 29th in points per game and 20th in points allowed at 116.8, minus 6.1 net rating, and Very interesting years that followed their NBA title. And now Giannis is gone. So now they can focus on a full and hopefully long, but hopefully not, too much of a long-term rebuild. But that's exactly where they are. And that's where they were last season. 32 and 50, missing the playoffs in 11th place, missing play-in, everything. And there was, I mean, I think around the league, with me there was a lot. With Giannis, it seems like there was times where he wanted to play and he didn't play, or he did play, but there was not as much reason to play. And I'm just happy that we're moving on from that. But I wish they could have moved on sooner. I wish they could have moved on last season. So that's as much as I'll say about that. Acquiring Tyler Hero in this trade is unique. It's not nothing when you consider the whole package they got. But again, Giannis goes to somewhere where he'll be happy most likely, where he'll most likely stay for longer than what his contract is. I shouldn't say that. I shouldn't say that. But there's a chance that he would stay long term. That's what I should say. And there was other positives in the summer. Taylor Jenkins will be the coach here, which I'm excited to see. They drafted Braden Burries, 10th overall, who had a positive summer league. They also have Nate Ament, 13th overall, who looked more comfortable as the summer league went on, as if I remember correctly. And Tyler Hero is an established offensive creator. He's just not the player that I would build around. And certainly, this was a team that built their championship team a few seasons ago, but in NBA a lifetime ago now. They built it around defense. And Tyler Hero was often a player that Miami hid on defense. So I don't know if the Bucks defense gets better with everyone they added and losing Giannis, but I certainly think Miami's defense gets better with Giannis. I'll say that. I will say that. So focusing on the rebuild, that should be most important. But not a team that, again, if the season started today, not the team that I would be most excited about. So for that, I'm putting them as my 5th team in Purgatory. We got 2 more. All right, I have the graphic up already, so I'll say the Clippers are the next one. And very unique offseason for the league overall. And the kind of news that has been with the Clippers, of course, they trade Kawhi. And we think that the Kawhi Leonard investigation or Clippers investigation is going to finish up soon. And then we think it might impact this trade or the Raptors and the Clippers. And then we hear most recently that it might be in 2027, which I would assume that just means that it's business as usual, because I would think the Raptors assumed whatever was going to happen when they first accepted the trade. I'm saying a lot of nothing, but you know what I mean. Like, business. I can't imagine having business like this. I'm like, okay, there might be some legal things going on, but our team isn't involved as much. It might be the player that's involved. Can't imagine. The Raptors are not in purgatory for this season. The Clippers are. They were 42 and 40, 9th place in Western Conference. They lost in the play-in tournament. They were 24th in scoring last season at 113.8. Defense was very good, and on a Kawhi Leonard-led team, it should be at 112.6, which was 10th overall. And the net rating was at a plus 1.1. So I think the numbers tell an interesting story. They were clearly a middle of the road team in a very competitive conference, and there was not as much news in the offseason about the Clippers beyond just Kawhi Leonard, which I thought there would be. And I'm assuming, I think the news is they did reach out to LeBron James, and I think they could have offered him more than what some teams or the Sixers could have offered him. So I always thought, what if that was an option? But okay, like LeBron, yeah, I can see why you go to the most competitive team, which is not the Clippers, as we mentioned. But they could use someone like that because they were 30th in assists last season at 23.7. 29th in rebounds at 40.6. And overall, just did not shoot the ball well at all, around 49% and around 38% from three. Positive net rating, despite, an almost 500 record at 42 and 40. They did acquire Brandon Ingram in this trade, who's a player that I've always liked, but never thought. It's either we haven't seen the full potential or he's just not the player that you would build a championship team around. Maybe he's your third best or maybe your second best player, but not sure about that yet. Doesn't replace Kawhi Leonard completely, but can maybe offer more availability. Let's see. Darius Garland's still there to help lead the offense. Big fan of him. Wish he was still in Cleveland and then see what would have happened this offseason. That's something different. Benedict Mathurin, when I was researching, getting ready for this episode, it seemed like every team I researched is talking about Benedict Mathurin. So we'll see where he ends up, but maybe he starts the season on the Clippers. We'll see. Big decision there for the Clippers. So maybe they're not done. Clippers did improve a lot last season, pre-All-Star break at a negative 0.4 net rating. Post All-Star break was a positive 3.9, and their points per game climbed from 115.3 to 118.3. So the roster showed improvement. This is a classic Purgatory case because are they rebuilding with Brandon Ingram and Darius Garland? Are they competing now? Because let's face it, how many games is this team going to win in the West if this is what it looks like right now? And it's not to say that I'm extremely high on the Raptors in the East. I'm higher than I was in the Raptors from last season. I think they've gotten better. And I'm happy that the Clippers moved on from Kawhi Leonard. It's very unique. Now, think about where you were in 2019 when he left, right? And now he's back. So we'll see. There's still movement that could take place, but they could be a play-in team. Could they be higher than that? I don't think so. So with that, they're in Purgatory. And let's talk about my last team today. And we're ending with positivity again today. Talking about the Phoenix Suns, a team that also I should have paid a little more attention to last season because they were surprising with winning 45 games. I'm sure that was well over their expectation projection from last season. Good enough for 7th in the West. They were 6th in opponents' points allowed at 111.1. But they were 26th in scoring at 112.6, still at a positive net rating at 1.4. Very interesting kind of off-season. They added Mikal Bridges, going to skip over that. They signed Luke Kennard, that's good. And they re-signed Colin Gillespie, which I was very happy to see as well. They're going to continue to build around Devin Booker, and Dylan Brooks on this team has helped change a lot. I want to say improve, but it's post-Durant era, so take that what you will. But saw a lot of bright points with this team last season. I still got to kind of put them into purgatory, though, because I don't know if they win 45 games again this season. But I would have said the same thing last season. I would have said they wouldn't win 41 games last season. So it wasn't a mediocre team. It's a team that is very good. Could have been a top 5 during this last season. Was a top 5 defensive team. But especially with having Devin Booker as your number 1 option, the offense needs to be a lot better. So I think there is clear opportunity. Do they have the right players now? Maybe not. Do they know what they need? I think so, right? You got star player. Not sure if Devin Booker, it's the whole career, right? Not sure if he's the player that leads you to that championship. For that, they are in purgatory. But defense has gotten better, and they need more shooting. So where do you get that? Internally, externally? They don't have the highest ceiling in the West, but they do have a very strong foundation for a team that sits in the middle of the Western Conference. So that's it. Where was I wrong? You can leave a comment down below, like, subscribe. I always talk about YouTube, but, do all those other things. If you're on the other pod platforms, that helps out a lot. Hope you enjoy these off-season pods that we'll be doing hopefully weekly. And we're going to be doing some other non-basketball fun things as well while it's a little less busy too. So find all the other links below. Have a great day, a great basketball week. I will see you next time.